A young man named Kim Gun-woo was a professional boxer in the ring. He was a stone-faced fighter, delivering powerful punches. But outside the ropes, he was a gentle and well-behaved guy, never using his fists to bully anyone. It was the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. While waiting for the bus, surrounded by masked faces, an older man carelessly spat on the ground. Gun-woo simply ignored him, showing no reaction. When this inconsiderate man boarded the bus, the driver requested he wear a mask, explaining the bus could be fined otherwise. The unruly man protested loudly and even attacked the driver. Gun-woo stepped forward, pulled the man off the bus in a bear hug, and then politely apologized to him. The man then proceeded to attack Gun-woo, who didn't retaliate but simply dodged the man's punches. Gun-woo continued to apologize. Seeing he couldn't get the upper hand, the man finally gave up and left. Gun-woo boarded the bus to a round of applause from the other passengers. They commented on how cool he was. Gun-woo lived with his mother. Due to the pandemic, her coffee shop had lost a quarter of its customers. She was deeply in debt, struggling with rent as the landlord refused to lower the price despite the difficult times. Meanwhile, Kim Gun-woo was participating in a professional boxing tournament as a rising star. In his first match, he landed a single punch to his opponent's stomach, winning by knockout. In the next match, Gun-woo skillfully dodged his opponent's attacks before delivering a powerful blow, again securing a knockout with just one punch. After his victory, Gun-woo rushed to check on his opponent, asking if he was alright. Gun-woo then advanced to the final. His opponent was Hong Woo-jin. Woo-jin's coach warned him to be extremely careful of Gun-woo's left hook. However, Woo-jin boasted that he was an undefeated Marine. The match began. The two opponents touched gloves and then circled each other warily. Woo-jin launched a series of attacks. Gun-woo dodged expertly, then unleashed a powerful left hook to Woo-jin's side, sending him to the canvas. He got back up, roaring. As Gun-woo prepared another left hook, Woo-jin blocked it and retaliated with a crushing blow to Gun-woo's face, knocking him out cold. But that was only Woo-jin's imagination. In reality, Gun-woo stepped forward, landed his signature left hook, and knocked Woo-jin out. Gun-woo won the championship. After his defeat, Woo-jin was met with indifference from his coach. He suggested they go out to eat to lift his spirits. The coach replied, "Eat? During a pandemic?" He then pulled out some cash and told Woo-jin to go eat by himself. Stepping outside, Woo-jin found the victor, Gun-woo, waiting for him. Gun-woo invited his rival to join him for some pork belly. Woo-jin, starving, feigned reluctance, not wanting to appear pitiable. But seeing Gun-woo's sincerity, he tagged along. Woo-jin suggested sirloin, but Gun-woo declined, explaining he'd only received 10 million won in prize money and needed to give it to his mother for rent. Despite Woo-jin's persistent haggling, Gun-woo refused to spend any more. Then, Woo-jin dramatically pulled out his own money so they could both enjoy some grilled beef. At the restaurant, Woo-jin asked, "You only fight with your left hand?" Gun-woo replied, "My right is stronger, but I haven't needed it yet." While grilling the meat, Woo-jin tried to flip it, but Gun-woo, explaining his experience working in a coffee shop, insisted on waiting another 30 seconds for optimal deliciousness. He shared that his family had gone bankrupt, forcing him to work multiple jobs to support his mother. They opened up to each other about their family situations. Woo-jin then learned Gun-woo was 2 years younger and tried to assert an older brother role. However, they discovered they had both served in the Marines. Upon recalling their military service, Woo-jin realized Gun-woo had been his senior in the Marine Corps. He immediately shifted his demeanor, respectfully addressing his former superior. They reminisced fondly about their time in the service, even playfully feeding each other. A genuine friendship began to blossom between the former rivals. Gun-woo returned to his mother's coffee shop. She was on the phone, pleading with a friend for more time to repay a debt. Seeing her son, she quickly hung up. She embraced him, congratulating him on his championship win. Gun-woo then gave her the prize money, telling her to use it for the rent. She initially refused, but he insisted, saying he understood her struggles. Finally, she accepted the money, promising to repay him with interest. They closed the shop and happily returned home. Their life was perfect, except for the constant worry about money. But then, a figure emerged, threatening their peaceful existence. Kim Myung-gil, the director of a loan shark company notorious for its predatory practices, took advantage of people struggling during the COVID-19 pandemic. Director Kim dispatched his sales team to every business in the city. They presented themselves as representatives of Smile Capital, a government-backed initiative designed to help people overcome the hardships of the pandemic. They promised loans with a mere 5% interest rate, lower than any bank, enticing shop owners to sign contracts. Gunwoo's mother was lured in by Kim Myung-gil's loyal henchman, Kim Jun-min. Swayed by the smooth-talking con man, she signed the contract, unaware of the deceptive clauses hidden within. In Seoul, a partially constructed building stood abandoned, its progress repeatedly halted by the COVID-19 pandemic, forcing the original company into bankruptcy. The building had become a public concern due to safety hazards. This indefinitely stalled project was then acquired by the Lil conglomerate. The eldest son of the conglomerate family was negotiating a loan with a bank manager to finance the building's transformation into a lavish hotel. A city councilman, dispatched by the mayor to expedite the project, arrived. Just then, loan shark Kim Myung-gil entered, claiming to have been referred by the councilman and offering to invest the remaining 100 billion won needed for the project. In return, he demanded permission to build a casino on the rooftop and a bar in the basement. Later, Kim Myung-gil and his associates hosted a party to thank the councilman for facilitating his involvement in the hotel project. During the party, the councilman received a call from the mayor, informing him that Kim Myung-gil's casino proposal had been approved. Myung-gil then presented the councilman with golden turtles weighing 3.7 kilograms. The public servant gratefully bowed before the loan shark upon seeing the gold. However, the entire bribery scene was captured on camera. Meanwhile, Gunwoo headed to the gym for boxing practice, only to find it closed for a week due to a COVID-19 outbreak. Disappointed, he called his new friend Woo Jin to hang out. On his way to Woo Jin's place, Gunwoo witnessed a young man chasing and attacking an older gentleman. Gunwoo followed and saw the older man beaten unconscious. He pursued the assailant, but was incapacitated by a taser. To his surprise, the attacker turned out to be a woman. She demanded to know why he was following her. The woman explained that the man she attacked was a con artist and advised Gunwoo to mind his own business. She then left. This woman was Hyun-ju, the adopted niece of Chairman Choi. Chairman Choi was a wealthy but incredibly virtuous man who provided interest-free loans to those in need of medical treatment. He considered helping the poor his greatest joy. Hyun-ju was tasked with investigating and collecting debts from those who feigned illness to swindle money from her uncle. Hyun-ju questioned Chairman Choi about his continued practice of offering interest-free loans. He replied that he had helped countless people receive medical care, and that was the greatest interest he could receive. However, Chairman Choi knew his niece was reckless, often confronting dangerous individuals alone. Concerned for her safety, he contacted the director of a security company, requesting a bodyguard to protect Hyun-ju. As Gunwoo's mother prepared to close the coffee shop, Kim Jun-min from Smile Capital arrived. He informed her of a 10% renewal fee due 24 hours after signing the contract. The interest had now ballooned to 40 million won. Stunned, Gunwoo's mother threatened to call the police. Jun-min immediately retreated outside. She frantically dialed Gunwoo. As they spoke, thugs suddenly burst into the shop, vandalizing everything. Hearing the commotion, Gunwoo furiously rushed to his mother's rescue. Arriving at the shop, he was confronted by the thugs. Seeing Jun-min strike his mother, Gunwoo sprang into action, systematically taking down each thug to reach her. Jun-min trembled as he watched his men fall. Gunwoo reached his mother, checked if she was all right, then grabbed Jun-min by the collar. Just then, Kim Myung-gil appeared. He asserted that Gunwoo's mother owed him money and demanded repayment. Gunwoo retorted that Myung-gil should compensate him for the damage to the shop first. The director then signaled his hulking enforcer to deal with Gunwoo. The enforcer, Inbam, was built like a grizzly bear. Gunwoo's blows seemed to have no effect. Inbam headbutted Gunwoo, knocking him to the ground. Gunwoo quickly recovered and landed a punch that drew blood from Inbam's nose. Enraged, the enforcer grabbed Gunwoo and pummeled him until he collapsed. Kim Myung-gil, expressing admiration for Gunwoo's tenacity, offered him a job. Gunwoo responded by spitting in his face. Infuriated, Myung-gil slashed Gun-woo's face with a knife. Gun-woo's mother rushed him to the hospital to get stitches. The doctor recommended a procedure to minimize scarring, but lacking the funds, Gun-woo declined. He told Woo Jin he'd received 30 stitches. Woo Jin urged him to report the assault, but Gun-woo recalled Myung-gil's threat against his mother if he involved the police. Woo Jin then pointed out a clause in the small print of the loan contract that inflated the debt to 100 million won. He advised Gun-woo to repay the loan quickly to prevent the interest from spiraling further. Gun-woo lamented that his family was penniless. Woo Jin took Gun-woo out for a meal to ease his stress. While there, Woo Jin secretly called an acquaintance to borrow money for Gun-woo. Overhearing this, Gun-woo was moved to tears. Woo Jin then led Gun-woo to a loan shark, his former boss. Gun-woo explained he'd been scammed by Smile Capital and needed 100 million won to repay the debt. The loan shark agreed, on the condition that Gun-woo and Woo Jin work for him as debt collectors. He remarked that this business was booming since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Disgusted, Gun-woo stood up and pulled Woo Jin away. He argued that preying on the vulnerable was the act of thugs, not soldiers. The loan shark sneered, warning that if they didn't repay Smile Capital, their organs could be harvested. Woo Jin refused the loan, returned the money he'd borrowed, and defiantly glared at his former boss before they left. Woo Jin called his friend, the director of a security company, for help. The two rushed to the company to talk. The director, a former Marine, was also Woo Jin's senior. The director mentioned a very wealthy man, Chairman Choi, who was looking for a bodyguard. He'd interviewed many candidates but hadn't found the right fit, and wanted to recommend both of them for the job. When Woo Jin explained he was there to borrow money, the director suggested meeting Chairman Choi instead. He had nothing but money and was a very kind man. Chairman Choi had already had a detective investigate Gun-woo's background. He complimented Gun-woo's trustworthy and diligent appearance. His chauffeur then brought in Woo Jin's file, suggesting they hire both of them. Gun-woo and Woo Jin went to a sushi restaurant to meet Chairman Choi. However, the restaurant owner only allowed Gun-woo inside. Chairman Choi asked about the scar on Gun-woo's face. Gun-woo explained he got it while protecting his mother from loan sharks. Chairman Choi revealed he used to be a loan shark himself, but had quit long ago. Now, he offered interest-free loans to help people afford medical treatment. He explained he needed a good person to protect his non-blood related granddaughter. Gun-woo was relieved to hear he wouldn't be collecting debts. Chairman Choi stated he'd thoroughly investigated Gun-woo's background before making his decision. He then shared the story of how he became determined to use his wealth to help the poor access healthcare. Gun-woo sensed Chairman Choi's genuine kindness. Stepping outside, he told Woo Jin he'd made a good impression. They went back to Gun-woo's home to have dinner with his mother. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was Chairman Choi's chauffeur. He handed Gun-woo a bag containing 100 million won, explaining it was a 2-year advance on his salary. He also informed Gun-woo that he would start work at 10 a.m. the next day. When the chauffeur left, Gun-woo embraced the money and sobbed, overwhelmed by the generosity of his benefactor. He then went inside, gave the money to his mother, and recounted the events. His mother apologized for ruining his fighting career. Gun-woo comforted her and thanked Woo Jin. The next morning, Woo Jin wanted to accompany Gun-woo to ask Chairman Choi for a job as well. They greeted Chairman Choi. Woo Jin eagerly demonstrated his skills and requested to work alongside Gun-woo. Already aware of Woo Jin's background, Chairman Choi agreed. However, he informed them that while he would be paying their salaries, they still had to pass an interview with his granddaughter, Hyun-ju. Gun-woo asked what would happen if they failed the interview. Chairman Choi chuckled and said, "You'll have to return the money, of course." Gun-woo anxiously admitted he had already used the money to pay off his debts. Chairman Choi advised them to stay calm and believe in themselves. He then handed Gun-woo a card and said, "Get yourselves something nice for lunch." He added, "Stick together like this, you two." The two were waiting to meet Hyun-ju in a library. Woo Jin picked up a book and discovered 100 million won inside. Then, he realized every book was filled with cash. They carefully put the money back. Gun-woo told Woo Jin he'd met their young boss before, having chased her once only to be tasered. Hyun-ju arrived. She had been against the idea of her grandfather hiring bodyguards for her. As soon as the two young men greeted her, Hyun-ju bluntly stated she didn't need bodyguards and abruptly dismissed them. She then called Woo-jin a jerk, which offended him, causing him to storm out. Gun-woo stayed, deciding to kneel and plead with her. He explained he desperately needed the job because his mother had been scammed by the Smile Capital Loan Shark Company. The debt had reached 100 million won. Chairman Choi had just given him a 2-year salary advance to pay it off. If he lost this job, he wouldn't know how to repay Chairman Choi. Hyun-ju, who was also investigating Smile Capital's illegal activities, told Gun-woo to get up, and they went to a restaurant. Hyun-ju told the two bodyguards about a scoundrel named Yang Yi-myung whom she was investigating. He had lied about his mother needing surgery to borrow 10 million won from Chairman Choi and then disappeared. After investigating, Hyun-ju discovered that he and his accomplices were posing as homeless people to steal the IDs of real homeless individuals. They then used these IDs to borrow money from other loan sharks. Following their trail, Hyun-ju discovered this group was working under the orders of Kim Jun-min, an underling of Smile Capital. Gun-woo recognized this name as the man who had come to his mother's coffee shop to collect the debt. Hyun-ju instructed the two bodyguards to find out how many ID cards the scammers had stolen in one night. She warned them not to reveal themselves under any circumstances or everything would be ruined. Yang Yi-myung and his accomplices disguised themselves to steal IDs from homeless people. They got into a vehicle, and Hyun-ju followed them in her car. Gun-woo and Woo-jin trailed behind them as well. Yang Yi-myung approached the homeless people, claiming to be from the Seoul City Homeless Association. He said the organization was government-funded and that anyone who joined would receive a monthly allowance. All they had to do was provide their ID cards to join, and they would receive the money next week. The homeless people fell for the trap and handed over their ID cards one by one. Then, they approached an old man. After hearing the first few words, the old man realized they had scammed him before and loudly demanded his ID back. The scammers started beating him. Gun-woo wanted to intervene, but Woo-jin held him back. However, after seeing the old man get hit hard on the head and bleed, Gun-woo rushed in and knocked down the scammers to save him. The two revealed themselves to the scammers. Yang Yi-myung noticed the red cat hat Gun-woo was wearing and ran away. Gun-woo said they needed to call an ambulance for the old man immediately, and then called Hyun-ju to report the situation. She yelled at him despite his attempts to explain, then hung up. Woo-jin called Hyun-ju to plead with her. She said everything was over. Woo-jin begged for 5 minutes to explain and apologize. Hyun-ju told them to come to the library. When they arrived, Hyun-ju demanded to know why they had fought with Yang Yi-myung. Now that he knew their faces, she couldn't hire them. Woo-jin argued that he had been wearing a mask and a hat, but Hyun-ju continued to berate them for ruining her plan. Woo-jin, unable to hold back any longer, retorted sharply. Seeing the escalating tension, Gun-woo stepped in and separated them. He showed Hyun-ju the scar on his face and explained that Kim Myung-gil had slashed him with a knife. He said that if he had watched the homeless man die without helping, he would have felt worse than the cruel Kim Myung-gil. They returned all of Hyun-ju's belongings and left. Once outside, Woo-jin said he would find new jobs for both of them. Suddenly, they both received text messages. They were from Hyun-ju. She apologized and asked them to meet her at the office at 10 a.m. the next day. Gun-woo and Woo-jin, overjoyed, jumped for joy. Yang Yi-myung reported to Kim Jun-min. He claimed that someone had been following them during their operation, preventing them from stealing the homeless people's ID cards. Yang Yi-myung admitted he had previously scammed another lender and that lately someone wearing a red cat hat had been following him, demanding repayment. The two men who had just fought them were also wearing the same red cat hat. At the bookstore, Hyun-ju and her two bodyguards were strategizing against the scammers. Looking at the security camera feed, she spotted Yang Yi-myung and boss Kim Jun-min approaching. "How did they find us?" she asked the two men. The trio quickly locked up the bookstore and turned off their phones. Kim Jun-min shone a flashlight inside, but saw no one. He ordered Yang Yi-myung to kick the door in. Then, glancing up at the camera, he left. The three inside began analyzing how the scammers had discovered their location. After several theories, Gun-woo realized it was likely Hyun-ju's red cat-eared beanie that gave them away. He recalled being struck by the hat when he'd chased after her and she'd tased him. Hyun-ju agreed that Gun-woo's reasoning made sense. Just then, Chairman Choi arrived at the bookstore. Hyun-ju confessed that they had been secretly tailing Yang Yi-myung and planned to catch him, a plan Chairman Choi had forbidden due to its danger. Hyun-ju repeatedly justified her actions. She then asked Gun-woo to remove the bandage covering his facial scar. Upon seeing the scar, Chairman Choi was shocked. "Who did this to you?" he demanded. "The boss of the Smile Capital Company," Gun-woo replied. Chairman Choi asked for the man's name, but Gun-woo didn't know it. He only knew the man had a similar long scar on his cheek. Hearing this, Chairman Choi told the three to go home. He then ordered Driver O to investigate whether the boss of Smile Capital was a man named Kim Myung-gil. Young Hyun-ju and her two bodyguards, now closer after their recent escapade, went out for Korean barbecue. Hyun-ju shared her background with them. She explained that she wasn't related to Chairman Choi by blood. She had been a child in an orphanage owned by Chairman Choi, who then adopted her when she was 17. Back home, Chairman Choi received a call from Driver O, confirming that Kim Myung-gil was indeed the director of Smile Capital. Chairman Choi's memory flashed back. Years ago, when he decided to shut down his own loan shark business, Kim Myung-gil had been among the employees laid off. That evening, Chairman Choi received a call from security guard O, reporting 2 intruders breaking into his office. Chairman Choi rushed to his company. The 2 intruders were the thug in Bayam and a professional locksmith. After cracking the safe, they discovered a large amount of gold bars and a stack of promissory notes worth 1 billion won each. Chairman Choi arrived, entered his office alone, and swiftly incapacitated in Bayam and the locksmith. "Who sent you?" he demanded. At that moment, Kim Myung-gil entered and stabbed Chairman Choi. Chairman Choi drew a knife to defend himself, but was stabbed again. He rallied, slashing Kim Myung-gil's face with his knife. Suddenly, Bayam intervened, throwing Chairman Choi out the window, sending him plummeting to the ground below. Kim Myung-gil and his accomplices gathered the money and doused the office with gasoline. However, Bayam looked down and couldn't see Chairman Choi's body. Kim Myung-gil then set the office ablaze to destroy the evidence. After the incident, Chairman Choi warned his niece Hyun-ju to stay away from Yang Yi-myung and his murderous crew. He urged her to leave the bookstore and relocate. He confessed he was too old to fight these villains anymore. Meanwhile, director Kim Myung-gil and his right-hand man, Jang Do, had a meeting scheduled with the eldest son of a Kibal family, Director Hong. Accompanying Director Hong was his cousin, a police officer named Min Gang-yang. Due to the immense power and close ties the Kibal heir had with the tax and audit bureaus, compounded by his entourage of police officers, the CEO, Kim Myung-gil, told his underling, Jang Do, to endure whatever happened and hold back. Upon entering the room, the Kibal heir produced some extremely strong liquor he'd brought along and, with his police officer brother, proceeded to challenge CEO Kim Myung-gil to a drinking contest. They treated it as a way to establish dominance among men. Glasses were filled and emptied as the 3 men downed the liquor, as if it were iced tea from a street vendor. The Kibal heir and his brother then began taunting and provoking Kim Myung-gil and Jang Do with their sarcastic smiles, making their faces burn with anger, but they were forced to swallow their pride. The Kibal heir then declared he had amassed 100 billion won and would not permit Kim Myung-gil to invest in and build a casino within his family's hotel. CEO Kim, fully aware that the other man's intention was to use his family's name to establish a legal casino, warned him against using their family's reputation for his business dealings, threatening him with death. He further mocked the scar on Kim Myung-gil's face, leaving the CEO's expression frozen. But the Kibal heir didn't realize he was dealing with a true gangster. Kim Myung-gil ordered Jang Do to find some compromising material on the Lil Group heir to deal with him. The Kibal heir drove his luxury car into a car wash. The car wash attendant promptly called Jang Do to inform him of the heir's location. The heir was then trapped, assaulted by thugs, and stripped naked. Jang Do and the gangster in Bayam arrived to find the Kibal heir kneeling like a dog, begging for forgiveness. Jang Do told him he shouldn't have messed with his boss. He then held up his phone and ordered the heir to undress. as the air continued to plead. In-beom choked him and poured a noxious chemical onto his face. Unable to bear it any longer, the heir complied, allowing Jang-do to film him. The video was then sent to Kim Myung-gil. Kim Myung-gil and In-beom drove to the location where Kim Myung-gil's gold was stashed. This gold had been melted down from the gold he'd stolen from Chairman Choi. He told In-beom that if their business ventures failed, they would escape to Vietnam and live like kings for the rest of their lives. In-beom, deeply grateful, ignored the advice from Chairman Choi. Hyun-ju, Gun-woo, and Woo-jin were still determined to track down and apprehend Yang Yi-myung. They drove to a location to wait for their target, but when Yang Yi-myung's men spotted Hyun-ju's car, they realized they were being followed. They alerted their leader, Kim Jun-min, then pretended to drive to their destination, leading the trio to a homeless encampment. Gun-woo and Woo-jin followed them as they had before. Yang Yi-myung called out to them, telling them to come out of hiding. Hyun-ju, seeing numerous vehicles filled with gangsters arrive and descend into the underpass, realized her bodyguards were in danger. Hyun-ju called Chairman Choi for help. He contacted a former employee for assistance. The gangsters, armed with clubs, advanced from both sides, surrounding Gun-woo and Woo-jin. Woo-jin removed his mask, preparing to fight, and Kim Jun-min recognized him as the coffee seller's son who had attacked him earlier. Gun-woo and Woo-jin fought to take down the numerous thugs. Woo-jin was struck on the head and collapsed. Gun-woo rallied to rescue his brother. Hyun-ju also joined the fight, using a baton and a taser to subdue several more gangsters. Finally, the three managed to defeat all the thugs and escape. At Gun-woo's house, his mother was sleeping when she was awakened by a noise. Thinking it was her son returning from work, she was instead confronted by two thugs, along with Yang Yi-myung, who chloroformed and kidnapped her. Suddenly, an older man appeared, knocking out one thug and then quickly dispatching the second. Yang Yi-myung, however, managed to escape with Gun-woo's mother. The older man was then attacked by the thug he had initially knocked out, but he quickly subdued him again and continued his pursuit. Seeing he was cornered, Yang Yi-myung threw Gun-woo's mother to the ground and fled. The older man caught up, stabbed him, further beat him, and then severed the tendons in his heels. Another, handsome older man arrived at the scene, intending to rescue Gun-woo and the others, but seeing the thugs already dealt with, he left. He encountered another thug on his way out and swiftly took care of him. These two vigilante older men were Hwang Yang-young and Lee Do-young, former trusted subordinates of Chairman Choi, now living in seclusion. Gun-woo's mother was taken to Chairman Choi's house, where Gun-woo and his two friends soon arrived. Chairman Choi scolded them for acting recklessly and warned them to stay away from those involved. He assured them he would take Gun-woo's mother to his orphanage for her safety. Director Kim Myung-gil visited his badly beaten men in the hospital. The doctor informed him that Yang Yi-myung's Achilles tendons had been severed. Yang Yi-myung recounted being attacked by a man with exceptional knife skills, possibly using a sashimi knife. Director Kim simply smirked and left. This skilled knife-wielding man was Hwang Yang-young, now the owner of a sushi restaurant. He and Lee Do-young were once Chairman Choi's most skilled enforcers. After a request from Chairman Choi, they decided to end their seclusion and help deal with Director Kim Myung-gil, partly to avenge fallen comrades. Back at his company, Director Kim Myung-gil told his three close associates about the mysterious attackers. He recounted how, after overthrowing Chairman Choi, they had eliminated 10 of his enforcers, but 2 highly skilled individuals, Chairman Choi's right and left-hand men, had escaped. He suspected one of these 2 was responsible for the recent attack. Chairman Choi, his driver, and the 2 older men discussed their strategy against Kim Myung-gil. They researched Kim Myung-gil's 3 associates and assigned each of them a target. Hwang Yang-young asked Chairman Choi what to do with the money hidden in the bookstore. Chairman Choi, believing their location compromised, suggested moving it. Hwang Yang-young suggested entrusting the task to the 3 young men, Gun-woo and his friends, who had proven their abilities by defeating 30 thugs barehanded. Chairman Choi agreed. While eating a meal prepared by Gun-woo's mother, Hyun-ju, Gun-woo's cousin, received a message from Chairman Choi instructing them to retrieve the money from the bookstore late the day after next and move it. That night, the 3 prepared supplies in 2 vehicles, along with numerous cardboard boxes. Upon arriving at the bookstore, they went inside. They were followed by Jang-do, one of Kim Myung-gil's men, who was armed with a knife. Hyun-ju packed the money into boxes while Gun-woo and Woo-jin went to the warehouse to retrieve a cart. Hyun-ju noticed someone lurking outside. Checking the security cameras, she saw In-beom, nicknamed Bear, sneaking into the warehouse. As she rushed back, Jang-do attacked her from behind, knocking her to the ground. She attempted to use a taser on him, but he overpowered her and used it on her instead, rendering her unconscious. In-beom entered the warehouse and fought Gun-woo and Woo-jin. Although he had previously defeated Gun-woo, he was now facing two skilled young fighters. After a struggle, they managed to overpower him. Gun-woo began relentlessly beating In-beom, but Woo-jin stopped him before he went too far. Then, they used zip ties to restrain the thug Hyun-ju. Jang-do carried her off, but she woke up and bit hard into his back, making him yell in pain and drop her. Hyun-ju ran, grabbed a knife from her ankle, and bravely faced Jang-do with a baton. Jang-do, who thought he was tough, couldn't fight off the slender young woman. Hyun-ju took him down in a minute and a half. She then grabbed keys, unlocked her handcuffs, and cuffed Jang-do. The three of them used carts to bring the money back into the bookstore to prepare for transport. Later, they discovered Jang-do had escaped. He called director Kim Myung-gil, who was watching a pole dancer, and reported he was seriously injured and needed a hospital. Kim Myung-gil told him to deal with it and call his gang to take care of the other three. A crowd of thugs descended on the bookstore to back up Jang-do. Gun-woo, Hyun-ju, and Woo-jin hurriedly packed the money into cardboard boxes and loaded them into their two cars. When the vehicles were full, Hyun-ju mentioned a safe containing billions of won upstairs. She and Woo-jin rushed upstairs, filled 2 bags with gold bars, and ran out, just as the thugs arrived. A chase ensued. Jang-do and his crew pursued them closely. One thug repeatedly rammed Hyun-ju's car, but her superior vehicle allowed her to sideswipe him, disabling his car. He then jumped into another thug's car to continue the chase. Entering a tunnel, Gun-woo's car led, while Hyun-ju covered the rear, preventing the thugs from advancing. When they tried to overtake her, she accelerated, ramming their car and flipping it over. However, Hyun-ju's car was also damaged and stalled. They both grabbed their bags of gold and ran. Seeing this, Gun-woo threw some money boxes out of his car to make room for his friends. Woo-jin and Hyun-ju, pursued closely by the thugs, found the bags of gold too heavy to carry and dropped them to run faster. They reached Gun-woo's waiting car, jumped in, and sped away. Hwang Yong-young informed Chairman Choi that the kids were attacked and lost the money in the safe. Chairman Choi's first concern was whether they were hurt. The three arrived at Chairman Choi's house with the remaining money. Hyun-ju apologized for losing the money in the safe, but Chairman Choi was only concerned about her well-being. This concern touched Hyun-ju deeply. The thug In-beom woke up, broke free of his restraints, escaped the warehouse, and took a taxi to director Kim Myung-gil's private hospital. The handsome Do-young followed him and learned the hospital's location. In-beom suffered a ruptured eardrum. Kim Myung-gil ordered Kim Jun-min to find the bookstore owner's address to track down Chairman Choi. Chairman Choi spoke privately with Gun-woo, thanking him and Woo-jin for bringing joy to his niece. He said he had already forgiven Gun-woo's debt, and he didn't need to work to repay the 100 million won. He considered it a bonus for safely transporting the money. Chairman Choi also promised to invest in a large cafe for Gun-woo's mother. Gun-woo offered to help Chairman Choi take down Kim Myung-gil, but the chairman said it wasn't necessary. Gun-woo insisted, wanting to repay his kindness. Mr. Hwang Yong-young treated the three young people to a sushi feast, prepared by his own hand. Handsome Mr. Do-young also arrived. He told the two young fighters that if they got involved in this and ended up with criminal records, their fighting careers would be over. However, Gun-woo and Woo-jin were determined to see this operation through. Everyone declared they weren't afraid to die and would fight together. Mr. Hwang Yong-young announced, "Tonight, we begin our attack." Mr. Hwang Yong-young instructed Gun-woo and Woo-jin in the art of using Japanese knives to take down opponents, honing their fighting spirit as swordsmen. Meanwhile, handsome Mr. Do-young chose a high-performance motorcycle for Hyun-ju to accompany him on the attack. He then trained her to ride while simultaneously using a baton to knock down opponents. Mr. Du Yong lay in wait in the underground parking garage, while Hyun-ju kept watch above. When Kim Jun-min arrived in his car, she alerted Mr. Du Yong. He rode out on his motorcycle and, with a swift swipe of his baton across Kim Jun-min's throat, brought him down. Kim Jun-min's men then rammed their car into Mr. Du Yong's motorcycle and proceeded to beat him. Hyun-ju, arriving by car, used her baton to knock down the thugs one by one, rescuing Mr. Du Yong. On another front, Mr. Hwang Yang-young and the two fighters infiltrated Kim Myung-gil's private hospital. Spotting Jang-ju entering an elevator, the trio pursued him on foot via the stairs. As Jang-ju exited the elevator, Mr. Hwang Yang-young stabbed him and then escorted him down the stairs. A pursuing thug was quickly dealt with by Gun-woo and Woo-jin. Jang-ju attempted to escape but was thrown down the stairs by Mr. Hwang Yang-young and knocked unconscious. Mr. Hwang Yang-young then texted the chairman, informing him of the situation, and took Jang-ju to one of Mr. Du Yong's abandoned houses. Mr. Hwang Yang-young instructed Gun-woo and Woo-jin to prepare a bucket of salt water. The two men tied up Jang-ju. The chairman called, saying he wanted to teach Jang-ju a lesson, and that he wanted the three young people to witness it. "I've brought the salt water," Mr. Hwang Yang-young announced to Hyun-ju, telling her that the chairman wanted her to stay and observe the lesson. The two men then began to torture Jang-ju. Handsome Mr. Du Yong used a rotary tool on Jang-ju's thigh. Mr. Hwang Yang-young then applied salt water to the wound. Jang-ju refused to divulge any information. They repeated the process on his other thigh. Unable to bear the sight, Hyun-ju ran outside to vomit. The chairman arrived and Hyun-ju asked why he wanted her to see this. Chairman Choi explained that he wasn't sure he would survive this war and wanted to give them all a lesson in psychological warfare. Hyun-ju then left. Chairman Choi approached Jang-du, employing psychological warfare to subdue him. He began by stating that of Kim Myung-gil's three loyal subordinates, Jang-du knew him best. Kim Myung-gil was depicted as a cruel and ruthless man who expertly manipulated his underlings to achieve absolute loyalty. However, in Kim Myung-gil's eyes, Jang-du was nothing. Any transgression would result in immediate and merciless execution. Chairman Choi continued, "All it takes is a single photo of you sent to Kim Myung-gil, and he'll believe you've confessed everything. He'll undoubtedly eliminate you." Jang-du, agitated by this, was struck by Chairman Choi. Choi then promised that if Jang-du confessed, he would be safely relocated to another country with sufficient funds to live comfortably for life. Influenced by Choi's words, Jang-du began to reveal what he knew. He recounted that during his 5 years working for Kim Myung-gil, his task was to ensure Kim Myung-gil's illegal activities remained undetected by the police. He had abducted the eldest son of the Lin family, filmed him being stripped naked, and used the footage to blackmail him into allowing Kim Myung-gil to build a casino in their 40-story hotel. Jang-du confessed to having approximately 50 similar videos, all stored on a hard drive hidden in a safe at Kim Myung-gil's house. This safe had a remote self-destruct function activated by Kim Myung-gil's phone. The hard drive, if it fell into the police's hands, would ruin Kim Myung-gil, but it was also a tool to control his enemies. Chairman Choi promised to take Jang-du to the hospital for treatment. He promised to arrange a passport and plane ticket for Jang-du's escape abroad. He then confiscated Jang-du's phone and inquired about the location of Kim Myung-gil's hidden gold. Jang-du replied that only the enforcer, In-beom, knew. In-beom was absolutely loyal to Kim Myung-gil. Meanwhile, Kim Myung-gil confronted the eldest Lin's son while he was speaking with his police officer brother. Kim Myung-gil snatched the phone and told the police officer that a motorcyclist had slit the throat of one of his underlings. He demanded the officer locate the motorcyclist, providing the license plate number and a 5-hour deadline. Failure to comply would result in the release of the compromising video of the eldest Lin's son. Kim Myung-gil then confiscated the eldest Lin's son's phone. Elsewhere, two uncles were driving Gun-woo and Woo-jin home. In the car, they explained Kim Myung-gil's motives for wanting to open a casino in the Lin family hotel. He intended to leverage the tycoon's reputation to open a legitimate casino. He would then connect the casino to his loan sharking operation. The more people gambling, the more people borrowing money, allowing him to effectively skim the profits. Woo-jin questioned if the casino would be exclusively for foreigners. The uncle replied, "Kim Myung-gil doesn't exactly follow the law." Meanwhile, Chairman Choi was speaking with his granddaughter, Hyun-ju, in another car. He recounted how Kim Myung-gil had robbed him of 20 billion 1 year ago. Chairman Choi promised that after this operation's success and the end of the COVID pandemic, he would take his granddaughter to a luxury resort. He also mentioned sending his 2 bodyguards on a trip to Italy. The two chatted amiably, even Pinky swearing their promises. Chairman Choi then invited everyone to his house for a celebratory meal. At the same time, the police officer at the station was meticulously examining security camera footage to identify the motorcyclist. At Chairman Choi's house, everyone agreed that finding Kim Myung-gil's hidden hard drive was key to defeating him. The atmosphere was optimistic, and toasts were raised in celebration. Everyone drank alcohol except Gun-woo, who had a soft drink. After a celebratory feast, the two uncles had a heart-to-heart conversation. It was then that the handsome uncle revealed he would be a father in 2 months. Uncle Hwang Yang-young scolded, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" and gave Uncle Do-young some money to buy nutritious food for his wife. Uncle Do-young then took a taxi home. Meanwhile, the eldest son of the tycoon urged the police officer to quickly find the motorcyclist, otherwise, his video would be released online. After hours of intense scrutiny, the police officer located the 2 motorcycles. He recorded the address of the house they entered and reported it to Kim Myung-gil. Immediately upon receiving the information, Kim Myung-gil mobilized all his underlings to investigate the house. During the search, they found a photograph of the handsome uncle and his wife. Seeing circular indentations on the ground, Kim Myung-gil realized Chairman Choi now used a cane. He also found some salt, guessing that Jang-do had confessed something. The underlings found a packet of photocopied documents related to Uncle Do-young, so they went to his house. Uncle and his pregnant wife were asleep when they heard a knock at the door. The pregnant wife was about to answer, but the uncle peeked through the crack and recognized the thugs. He pulled his wife inside, intending to jump out the back to escape, but his pregnant wife was unable to jump. The uncle told his wife to call the police. Then, he kissed his wife and their unborn child. He used everything available to barricade the door. The thugs smashed the glass door and stormed in. The uncle lunged with a knife, taking down a few, but was eventually overpowered and struck hard on the head. His wife sobbed uncontrollably. Kim Myung-gil entered and told the uncle he would let his wife live if he revealed Hwang Yang-young's location. The helpless uncle looked at his wife, then finally gave up the information. Meanwhile, at Chairman Choi's house, everyone was enjoying a meal prepared by Gun-woo's mother. Chairman Choi asked Gun-woo and Hyun-ju to drive Gun-woo's mother to his orphanage to work. She agreed and packed her belongings. Uncle Hwang Yang-young returned to his sushi restaurant to find his employee murdered. As he put on his chef's uniform and entered, Kim Myung-gil was waiting. The uncle asked, "How did you find me?" Kim Myung-gil replied that Uncle Yeon had revealed his location. Hwang Yang-young asked, "You killed them both?" Kim Myung-gil smiled and nodded. Hwang Yang-young attacked, but was unexpectedly stabbed in both legs by a blade concealed in Kim Myung-gil's shoe. He fought back, landing a blow, only to discover his opponent wore iron armor. Kim Myung-gil then knocked the uncle down. Hwang Yang-young grabbed a meter-long knife to fight. Just as he was about to pierce the armor, Kim Myung-gil counterattacked, using the same long knife to kill Hwang Yang-young. He then ordered his men to attack Chairman Choi's house. One thug broke the lock, allowing the gang to invade. Woo Jin discovered the intruders and alerted Chairman Choi. Chairman Choi told Woo Jin to go to the basement while he held off the thugs. However, they were too numerous, and Woo Jin couldn't hold them off for long. As the thugs descended to the basement, Chairman Choi opened the safe, retrieved a gun, and shot several of them. Woo Jin was then subdued and stabbed repeatedly in the stomach. In-beom approached and knocked Chairman Choi down. Monjin entered, saw the gold in the safe, and calmly executed Chairman Choi. He then took all the gold and set the house on fire. Gun-woo and Hyun-ju returned to find the house ablaze. Gun-woo rushed in to save his brother, Woo Jin, while Hyun-ju went to the basement and discovered Chairman Choi's lifeless body. She hugged him and wept uncontrollably. Gun-woo had to pull her out as the flames intensified. Woo Jin was rushed to the hospital, suffering from severe blood loss. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the hospital had a critical blood shortage. Gunwoo donated blood to save his brother. When the nurse said it wasn't enough, Gunwoo insisted on donating more, despite the risks, confident in his strength as a boxer. Hyunju wept outside, remembering Chairman Choi and blaming herself for the situation. After donating blood, Gunwoo went outside but couldn't find Hyunju. He searched and called, but she didn't answer. The doctor announced the surgery was a success and Woo Jin was saved. Gunwoo cried, thanking the doctor. It was a deeply tragic scene. However, the story doesn't end there. Gunwoo and Woo Jin are now living in a secluded rural area. They train day and night to improve their strength and fighting skills. From running to weight training, they follow a strict military-like discipline. Their bodies are now powerfully sculpted, with six-pack abs, preparing for a spectacular revenge in the future. They are currently living with Driver O. Seeing the two martial artists intensely training for revenge, Driver O called them in to dissuade them. Gunwoo insisted that Driver O should trust him and Woo Jin, believing they could defeat Kim Myung-gil. However, Driver O countered that even the experienced uncles had been killed, so how could two young men possibly win? Gunwoo responded that he would follow Chairman Choi's instructions, gathering those harmed by Kim Myung-gil to defeat him. Driver O concluded with, "I won't allow it." Later, Driver O visited Chairman Choi's grave, where he discovered a letter from his granddaughter, Hyun-jun. She wrote that she had left for Zoom using the small amount of money Chairman Choi had given her. She explained that staying would make her miss him too much, as she thought of him constantly. In the letter, Hyun-jun expressed her affection for Driver O and apologized for leaving without saying goodbye. Driver O returned home, called Gunwoo and Woo Jin outside, and gave them a suitcase full of money. He explained it was the last emergency fund Chairman Choi had left behind. He had prepared accommodation for them in Seoul and urged them to be careful. Both bowed, thanking Driver O and promising victory. Gunwoo and Woo Jin took the suitcase to Seoul. They went to the address Driver O provided his granddaughter's house. She laid down numerous house rules for their stay. Then, Gunwoo and Woo Jin strategized to find allies for their revenge plan. Driver O also gave them a car. They drove to meet a loan shark Woo Jin's former boss. Woo Jin tried to persuade him to join them against the Smiling Face Company, but he refused due to the danger. He said, "Money can be earned again, but life is irreplaceable." Gunwoo and Woo Jin then met the security company director who had introduced them to Chairman Choi. His company had been vandalized by the Smiling Face Company's goons over a debt. The two explained that Kim Myung-gil was behind it, and revealed Chairman Choi's murder. Upon hearing the news, the director wept, as Chairman Choi had been his benefactor. Gunwoo and Woo Jin then met a gangster named Yang Yi-myung to inquire about the current situation of the Smiling Face Company. They learned that Kim Dong-min, the man whose throat had been slit by their uncle, was still alive. Gunwoo asked if Kim Myung-gil's casino had opened. Yang said no, because he was disputing a contract with the Lin Corporation, delaying the casino's opening. Woo Jin took a picture of Yang and threatened to send it to his boss, Kim Jun-min, if he didn't keep quiet. Gunwoo then asked how to find the contact information of the Lin Corporation's heir, but Yang didn't know. They searched online and discovered the heir was Hong Min Baeon. At that moment, Driver O's granddaughter rushed in, telling them not to use her computer and to go to an internet cafe. Woo Jin said it was just this once. They sent an Instagram message to Hong Min Baeon. Meanwhile, Hong Min Baeon was being beaten by Kim Myung-gil for not resolving the casino construction contract. Kim Myung-gil threatened to release Hong's compromising video online and kill him if he didn't cooperate. Hong left, crying in his car, and unexpectedly received a message. "We can help you eliminate Kim Myung-gil. We know where the hard drive with the video is." Director Hong showed the message to his police officer brother, Gang Ion, who suggested they meet the sender. They then invited Gunwoo and Woo Jin to a bar. Knowing their habit of using alcohol as a greeting, they pressured the young men to drink. Woo Jin explained he couldn't drink due to a liver injury sustained from Kim Myung-gil's thugs. Gunwoo also claimed he didn't drink. Officer Gang Ion insisted Gunwoo drink. Unable to pass up this valuable opportunity, Gunwoo reluctantly joined the officer and Director Hong. Unexpectedly, Gunwoo possessed an extraordinarily high tolerance for alcohol. Officer Gang Ion kept pouring, and Gunwoo kept drinking. Afterward, Gunwoo remained completely sober while the officer and Director Hong were tipsy. As Director Hong became intoxicated, he wept, recounting the humiliation and abuse he suffered under Kim Myung-gil's blackmail using the compromising video. He then called Gunwoo family. The next morning, Director Hong and Officer Gang Ion woke up. Gunwoo explained he had brought them back to the house. The four then shared instant ramen that Gunwoo and Woo Jin had prepared. After the meal, Gunwoo and Woo Jin went to the Lin Corporation building to meet and plan against Kim Myung-gil. The plan was to hack into his phone, remotely open his safe, and retrieve the incriminating hard drive. The head of the cybercrime unit presented two options: lure Kim Myung-gil to connect to the building's Wi-Fi to hack his phone, or trick him into scanning a COVID-19 QR code upon entry, enabling access and control of his phone. Director Hong worriedly asked what would happen if Kim Myung-gil discovered the plan. The officer reassured him, and the team set up cameras and advanced surveillance equipment. When Kim Myung-gil arrived to sign the contract with Director Hong, security asked him to scan the QR code. He scanned it, but the hacker couldn't find any security apps on the phone. A team member discovered Kim Myung-gil was using two phones, a different one for scanning the code. To lure him onto the Wi-Fi, Director Hong, summoning his courage, entered the meeting room and demanded Kim Myung-gil delete the video before signing the contract. After an argument, Kim Myung-gil gave Director Hong his phone to delete the video himself. During this time, Director Hong connected to the building's Wi-Fi, allowing the hacker to access the safe and destroy the hard drive at Kim Myung-gil's house. The hacker announced they had found the evidence, and the team planned to arrest Kim Myung-gil. Director Hong offered to fund Gunwoo's scar removal, but Gunwoo refused, saying the scar had brought him amazing people and strength. Meanwhile, Kim Myung-gil was celebrating with his men when he smelled burning from his safe. Opening it, he discovered the hard drive was destroyed. He angrily yelled and called a mysterious person to find an old man. This person turned out to be an informant within the Serious Crimes Unit. The informant reported the developments and received instructions to find Driver O's location. Kim Myung-gil promised a bonus before hanging up. Kim Myung-gil's henchmen, after learning Driver O's whereabouts, drove out to find him. They used force to interrogate people everywhere. Then, upon arriving at a rice shop, the owner told them he frequently saw the man delivering rice there. The thugs proceeded directly to Driver O's residence. Meanwhile, Gunwoo and Woo Jin continued to enlist Yang Yi-myung's help in finding the file on Inbam, Kim Myung-gil's close associate and thug. He demanded a hefty sum, so Gunwoo pulled out and gave him 10,000 won. Gunwoo and Woo Jin wanted to investigate this thug because only he knew where Kim Myung-gil was hiding the gold stolen from Chairman Choi. While talking with their landlady, Da-min, they received a call from Inbam. In the call, he sent a picture of the captured Driver O and demanded they come to a shopping mall within an hour. Da-min, after overhearing the phone call, angrily declared she would kill him herself and hung up. Da-min, a skilled archer who had competed internationally, grabbed her bow and arrows to join the two men in rescuing Driver O. When Gunwoo told her she couldn't come, she displayed her archery skills in front of them. Woo Jin then called the director of their security company for backup. The director, despite having his arm in a cast, decided to join. He removed the cast, prepared himself like an assassin, and met up with the three of them. The group of four split into two teams and entered the building. Gunwoo and Woo Jin went in through the main entrance. Inbam ordered his men to kill the two young men. However, Gunwoo and Woo Jin took down the thugs one by one. Seeing this, the remaining underlings were too afraid to continue. The two fought hand to hand, while Da-min provided support from above with her bow and arrows. One of the lead thugs ran upstairs to attack Da-min, but was stopped by the security director. Downstairs, after clearing out the remaining thugs, Gunwoo faced Inbam directly. Gunwoo delivered a powerful punch, sending him crashing to the floor. Woo Jin then ran upstairs to assist the security director. When the lead thug tried to flee, intimidated by Da-min's archery skills, the director blocked his escape but was knocked down. Fortunately, Woo Jin arrived in time to save him. Da-min, having run out of arrows, was left with only her basic self-defense skills. Below, Gunwoo continued his assault on Inbam, making him stagger. Despite this, In-beom managed to grab Gun-woo by the throat. However, Gun-woo quickly countered and knocked him unconscious. Upstairs, Woo-jin had dealt with the lead thug. They then tied both of them up and tortured them for information on Driver O's location. The security director threatened severe consequences if the lead thug didn't talk. Terrified, he revealed where Driver O was being held. The four of them then loaded the two captives into their car. Gun-woo asked the security director to watch over In-beom and interrogate him about the location of Kim Myung-gil's hidden gold. Meanwhile, Gun-woo, Woo-jin, and Da-min went to the fish farm, the location the lead thug had revealed to rescue Driver O. Gun-woo called Officer Kang to inform him of Driver O's location. The officer immediately contacted an undercover agent to send people to the scene for the rescue. However, the undercover agent instead informed Kim Myung-gil. He immediately ordered his men to clear the scene and move Driver O elsewhere because the police were coming. When the police raided the fish farm, they found nothing. Gun-woo, Woo-jin, and Da-min arrived and handed over the captured gang leader to the police. Gun-woo explained that some of the gang members had fled earlier and likely tipped off Kim Myung-gil to clear the scene. Meanwhile, the security director was relentlessly torturing In-beom for information about the hidden gold, but he refused to talk. When Gun-woo arrived, In-beom suddenly bit his tongue and committed suicide. Gun-woo panicked and told Woo-jin to call for an ambulance immediately. The security director worried that with In-beom dead, they would never find the safe containing the gold. But Gun-woo was firm, "We can't let him die." At that moment, Officer Kang was buying coffee at a shop when the owner poisoned his drink. After leaving, he felt dizzy and disoriented. Returning to the shop, he discovered the real owner tied up. He managed to crawl to a nearby house and asked the homeowner for salt. After swallowing the salt, he vomited the poisoned drink. Meanwhile, Kim Myung-gil sent his men to assassinate two of Officer Kang's colleagues because they were part of the investigation team against him. Gun-woo received a call from Kim Myung-gil. He set a meeting with Gun-woo at 9 p.m. at the fish farm and threatened to kill Driver O if the police were informed. He also claimed to have dealt with Officer Kang and his two colleagues and threatened Gun-woo's mother's life. Da-min overheard and insisted on going with them. Gun-woo pulled Woo-jin aside for a private conversation. Gun-woo worried that if anything happened to Driver O, Da-min would break down like Hyun-ju had before. Woo-jin reassured him that the situation was different now. "Last time, we were separated. That's why things went so badly. Now, working together, we can handle Kim Myung-gil." The three drove to the fish farm. They left Da-min to provide cover from a distance, while Gun-woo and Woo-jin went inside. Kim Myung-gil and his thugs were waiting for them. Driver O was lying on the ground, exhausted. Kim Jun-min, one of Kim Myung-gil's men, ordered his thugs to kill Gun-woo and Woo-jin. The two fought together, taking down the thugs one by one. Kim Myung-gil watched as his men proved helpless against the two brats. Kim Myung-gil pulled a knife on Driver O, ordering the two young men to freeze. He then commanded his men to execute Gun-woo and Woo-jin. At that moment, Da-min knocked an arrow, ready to fire. She yelled for Gun-woo and Woo-jin to hit the ground, then shot an arrow that struck Kim Myung-gil in the shoulder. Gun-woo and Woo-jin seized the opportunity, quickly overpowering the rest of the gang. Kim Myung-gil, shielded by his remaining men, escaped in a car. The three of them had successfully saved Driver O. The police arrived, arresting the remaining gangsters and investigating the scene. They discovered that the fish farm was where Kim Myung-gil's victims were disposed of. Simultaneously, the police searched Kim Myung-gil's house. Only his wife was home. There, they found numerous cell phones belonging to Kim Myung-gil's victims. The corrupt police officer was also arrested for bribery and murder. Meanwhile, Kim Myung-gil had escaped and was now a nationwide fugitive. Director Hong stated that he wouldn't be able to sleep until Kim Myung-gil was caught. Gun-woo declared that he would help find him. Gun-woo believed that Kim Myung-gil's former subordinate, Jang Do, might know how he planned to flee the country. Detective Kang Ion said he would investigate Jang Do's whereabouts. The investigation only yielded Jang Do's bank account number. A close associate of the gang suggested to Gun-woo and Woo-jin, Jang Do must be desperate for money. Transfer a large sum into his account and leave your phone number in the transfer details. He'll call back immediately. Gunwoo asked how much to transfer, and the associate replied, 10 million won should bait the hook. Indeed, after the transfer, Jang Do called back. He recognized Gunwoo as Chairman Choi's former soldier. Gunwoo explained that Kim Myung-gil was wanted by the police and needed help finding him. Jang Do asked, "What's in it for me?" Gunwoo replied, "A big one." Jang Do demanded 1 billion won to be transferred within 4 days. Gunwoo and Woo Jin gathered all the cash they could from Driver O, but they only had 300 million won. They went to Director Hong for help. Director Hong asked, "What if Jang Do takes the 1 billion won and runs?" Gunwoo assured him, "If he breaks his word, Woo Jin and I will hunt him down." Hearing this, Director Hong agreed to help. After receiving the full amount, Jang Do kept his promise. He went to the train station, located Kim Myung-gil, and called Gunwoo. Jang Do revealed that Kim Myung-gil would be boarding a train the day after tomorrow to escape to Ho Chi Minh City. He also disclosed that Kim Myung-gil had bribed several officials in Vietnam. Jang Do also provided the phone number of someone working on the ship for Gunwoo to negotiate with. Gunwoo and Woo Jin then bid farewell to Driver O and his niece, Da Min, and embarked on their mission. The two men bribed a ship employee to sneak them on board. As the ship set sail, Gunwoo and Woo Jin began their search for Kim Myung-gil and his accomplices. Woo Jin slipped inside the ship and spotted Kim Jun-min. He immediately fired a taser, knocking him unconscious. Woo Jin then encountered the thug In Bayam. During the fight, In Bayam threw Woo Jin down a level. However, Woo Jin calmly responded, playing a cat and mouse game with him. Finally, he landed a knockout blow, taking down In Bayam. On the upper deck, Gunwoo confronted Kim Myung-gil. He roared and charged into battle. Outmatched, Kim Myung-gil fled, strapping a knife to his shoe. As Gunwoo climbed up from a different direction, Kim Myung-gil kicked him in the face, sending him tumbling. Despite this, Gunwoo persevered and climbed back up. The intense fight continued, but Gunwoo eventually overpowered Kim Myung-gil. When Kim Myung-gil attempted to draw his knife, Gunwoo countered, delivering a series of decisive blows that brought him down. Gunwoo turned to Woo Jin and said, "I think we've become hunting dogs now." Woo Jin replied, "We'll both go back to being real boxers." They then located all of Kim Myung-gil's gold. Director Hong, now on a yacht, received a call from Gunwoo informing him that they had recovered all the gold. Director Hong asked, "What about Kim Myung-gil's phone?" Gunwoo retrieved the phone and gave it to him. Gunwoo called Detective Kang Ion with the good news. The detective said he would enlist Interpol's help and would be waiting in Vietnam. Director Hong asked the two men, "What do you want to do with the gold?" Gunwoo replied, "Chairman Choi always wanted to help the poor, so we'll use this money for the same purpose." Director Hong asked, "You don't want to keep any of it for yourselves?" Gunwoo replied, "Of course we do, but it's not our money." Director Hong revealed that the gold was worth nearly 84 billion won. He said he would set up a welfare fund or invest the money to build a hospital. Gunwoo suggested, "Could we name the hospital after Chairman Choi?" Director Hong agreed and said he would try to make it happen. Finally, Director Hong gave Gunwoo and Woo Jin 2 gold bars each as a reward, promising to compensate them with his own money later. The two returned to Korea and visited the orphanage to reunite with Gunwoo's mother. His mother embraced him joyfully, also asking after Woo Jin. Gunwoo said, "Let's go home." The three embraced, filled with joy and happiness.